going on, gents? I'm Spencer Dutton's historical past,
Marcy.
And I'm Tristan Jones.
and we are the Watchers in the Basement, man. Thank y'all so much for joining us today on this glorious Sunday afternoon. We are covering 1923, episode 2. I won't say the official title because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube, but it rhymes with Rapist. The Rapist in the Winter is the name of the title, episode 2. And judging from this title, it's that should have been episode 1 name due to what we saw in episode 1. But again, I digress. Got my boy Tristan back in the fold, man. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I've been on this paradise and rewatching binging Designated Survivor, man. So I skipped over a week on 1923, but I'm back.
We got T back in the Yellowstone universe, and we glad to have him back. Marcy, how you doing?
Doing good. This episode was a lot. And also, hi, M Moves, for joining us today.
Shout out Emu, shout out everybody in the chat, man. I appreciate y'all supporting us and watching us. Yeah, man, this episode was weird. It was very weird and it caught my attention, but Taylor is not sparing any darkness this season. He is coming right out the gates with it. Marcy, what was your thoughts on episode 2?
Well, as soon as I saw the title, when I pulled it up, I was like, okay, this is going to be some shit, right? Like, you don't give an episode a title like that and expect it to just be like a regular old episode. So watched it twice. There's a lot going on. Some things that move along the story, some things, again, that's just more trauma inflicted on our characters, the way Taylor likes to do it. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, same. I thought a good episode. There's some parts that I have some thoughts about as far as like the pace. I don't know. Maybe it's because the gap between season 1 and 2. Like I don't know. I feel like I need Spencer and his wife back together, man. We'll get to it. I feel like this episode kind of demonstrated. It goes back to pace. Like I feel like what my original predictions or assumptions about the show, Taylor Sheridan just doesn't give a damn about. Like I feel like I came in expecting the show to be one thing, as far as like at least with Spencer's character, and Taylor's giving me another thing. So we'll talk about it. But overall, I thought it was a good episode. Not too much action, but I think they're building up to that. And good solid 8 out of 10 episode.
Yeah, I share your sentiments, Tristan. Marcy and I talked about this last week as well. Is the pacing. I don't want to get to I don't want to get to a point where it becomes 2 different shows, like the show of like Spencer and his wife getting together, and then a different show, which is the same show but a whole different show of like them getting back to Montana. This shouldn't take another 7 or 8 episodes. I need Spencer and his wife back in Montana by mid-season, and I think I don't want to get to a point where you prolong this adventure of them getting back to each other and getting back to Montana, because again, you don't have a lot of firepower in Montana right now, with what's going on with Banner and what's going on with the antagonist in Montana. I mean, the Duns are outnumbered. The old, the 2 main characters are old as fuck. They can't do much fighting right now. The son or the nephew, he's young and very green. The son of the wife of the son, she's pretty much had it with Winter in Montana, and she wants to go back. So with that being said, there's not much firepower right now. So you need Spencer back in the fold, because Whitfield has a whole army of guys who are just waiting to take up that ranch. And I don't want to get to a point where it's just fodder until Spencer gets there, and that's what it feels like. Now, you have other storylines that are kind of interesting with the Native Americans and Anissa and that's going on. But again, it's just I feel like you're prolonging episodes and storylines that don't need to be prolonged. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the story. As far as the episode, I enjoyed the episode for what it was as a singular 50-minute presentation, but I don't want to see another 4 or 5 episodes of this and Spencer is still in fucking Branson, Missouri or Fort Worth, Texas, trying to make his way back. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes a very pointless adventure at this point.
Yeah, it feels like, and I feel like a hypocrite because this is the opposite of. This is how I defended. I defended House of the Dragon because I'm like, people were expecting like these wars and stuff like that, like every episode, these battles every episode, and I'm like, no, it's the build up to it that's important. With 1923, this is obviously not House of the Dragon, and there isn't like an inevitable conclusion that we're like slowly building towards. Like we don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the series. We know ultimately where the story goes decades down the line, but yeah, like I feel like this is like foreplay, for like the Whitfield versus Duttons. Like obviously that's going to turn into like something physical, right? And by the previews, like we should see a little bit more violence, next week going forward. But like, yeah, I guess it's hard to tell the story of like this slow economic like dismantling of your opponent in the 1920s. You know what I'm saying? Like there's only but so much creativity you can do to show that okay, the Whitfields have more resources, they're more advanced, more further thinking. But like, ultimately we're here, and that is a big part of it, but ultimately we're here for like the direct conflict, and we really can't have the direct conflict like you said until Spencer gets there, or at least we can have it, but like you're just beating the dead horse of like this is a overmatched family versus this corporation essentially, you know what I'm saying? So like I know we're getting to that point. Like the show is still good enough for you to be patient through it, which is a good thing. But like I'm ready, at the very fucking least, I'm ready for Spencer and Alex to like get back together. Like how much shit are you gonna throw at them? Goddamn, lions, tigers, bears, literally, elephants, the ocean, like a duel to the death. Like what the like there's so much shit, and then she's pregnant, so I'm ready for at least that part to get solved because that's just too much stress. Now then we can get to like the main conflict and like they're not doing 20 episode seasons, you know what I'm saying? So like I feel like, yeah, like you said, by mid-season, by episode 4, they need to be together and we need to like be full speed ahead. Because I don't know how long this show's gonna last. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't want to waste so much of it on a storyline that I'm really invested in that's so fragmented. So yeah, that's a little small, minor, but potentially major critique.
Marcy, let me ask you something. So the Dunn family tree there's still there's no clarity yet. We don't know where John's descendants are from. We don't know if it's from Spencer's nephew or it's from Spencer. There's still a lot of unclear things. I guess my question is, was Spencer still far away? I mean, in this episode, we know he's in Galveston right now, making his way to Fort Worth. Do you think, interesting, you can answer this too, do you think the show killed off Spencer's brother too soon last season?
Oh, good question. I could go either way on that. I think they probably killed him at a good time. So again, like the Duttons are down like a good solid player, right? Then you're left with Jacob, like you said, he's old, and then like the nephew who's just still so green. So I think that put them in the situation where we saw them in season 1, where that was a lot of like the storyline was like that they're outmatched. But also in doing that, I think it did take out some of like the wonderings of like whose descendant is John Dutton. So I think they took him out at the right time. Again, to just really show like these people are just kind of like hanging on essentially, and the situation is dire, and like Spencer really, really, really needs to get home because they do need like somebody that is strong, somebody that's like young enough to like still have a lot of fight left in him. Not to say that Jake doesn't, like he is formidable, but again, he is also probably in his 80s.
Tristan,
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, this show is never really been about the Duttons are like this, Ming Dynasty, like it's to kind of break that down, because when we get to Yellowstone, they're kind of seen as this dynasty. Like there's been all these decades of triumph, and it really hasn't been like that. So you have to kind of knock this family down. I guess that's what I realized in 1888 and 1923 about, is like knocking the Duttons down a bunch of pegs before building them back up.
Yeah.
So the brother dying, was it James?
Yeah,
James Dutton. Yeah.
James dying so early really accentuated that. Like you had to knock him down. Him dying, his wife ending it, unaliving herself because of that. Like it's continue to knock it down, and that creates the need for Spencer more. Like Marcy said, like now that becomes more urgent, and now Spencer's story goes from gallivanting, lion hunting, being this mythical figure, iconic figure for hunting down lions, to like, okay, now he has a different purpose. Again, we can quibble with the means to get to that ultimate purpose and how long that takes, but I think it's at the right time, because it represents like a definitive shift in the show's direction, especially with like certain characters like Spencer, like Jake. Like, okay, it's not just about survival. It's like, how are we going to survive? And again, this is why you come to the point of like, okay, Spencer is the overarching figure in this story, despite him being so far from his family.
It's a good point. I agree too, to a certain extent. If you go another season and Spencer's still not back, I think you destroy the storyline of like Spencer being so needed, because it's not realistic to go. And I'm not sure how much time has passed between James dying and Spencer still being away, but I think you destroy the realistic need of Spencer, because there's no way they're going to survive this for another season if Spencer's not back on that ranch. I think killing James, it shows you the importance of having Spencer back. But if we get to the end of season 2 and Spencer's in fucking Oklahoma and he's nowhere near, it's not realistic enough that ranch is going to survive without him. And that's my fear of Taylor prolonging this too long, of this family reunion of Spencer coming back home. I think you destroy the momentum of the letters that Kara has wrote Spencer over the past season and a couple episodes as well. I think you destroy all of that if you make this too long of a reunion. That needs to happen soon. Going into this episode, so it opens up with Whitfield and Banner driving along the mountainside, and they see skiers coming down the slopes. And again, I love Whitfield's character. I think Whitfield is the best villain going on TV right now. He's very nuanced. He's very demented, but a lot of his dementedness and a lot of his evilness comes from a source. It comes from an origin story. I hope that they get to in this series, because the sexual misconduct, the way he thinks, the way he views everybody as a dollar sign, that has to come from somewhere. And I would love to get a flashback or something to like explain what made Whitfield the way he is. But he has like this conversation with Banner. He has, Banner lost all his flock due to some illness that I guess is developed by worms.
Called the fluke.
The fluke. And Whitfield kind of put him on game. I'm like, look, man, like, this is about money. Like I see every opportunity to make money. I see the hearts of people, and I see dollar signs in the hearts of people. Tristan, what was your thought process, man, watching that scene? And like, did you feel like you learned Whitfield a little bit more from that conversation you had with Banner, or that's kind of like on brand what he's been so far in the last 11 episodes?
Well, first, the best villain on TV is Sinatra in Paradise. You need to tap in. I think she's the best villain. But no, Whitfield is absolutely in the conversation. He's in that S tier, right along with him. I hate him. To answer your question, I think the conversation and pretty much all subsequent conversations between Banner and Whitfield tells me more about both of them. Actually, I learned a lot about both characters this episode. And I mean, like, it is technically a continuation of everything we've seen from Whitfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the epitome of Omar. Like, hey, man, money, or not Omar, one of them, somebody from The Wire. It's like, hey, money don't have owners, it got spenders. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's a uber capitalist vibe from him that is honestly appropriate for the times, because like we're after the Industrial Revolution, about 50 years after the Industrial Revolution, like you start to see these moguls, these titans of business, and just how ruthless they were. Like a lot of the structures, the economic structures, the just workplace structures that we have now is because of dudes in that era, like Whitfield, like the 5-day work week. Like that's some Ford shit. Just seeing people as like assets only, you know what I'm saying? Like just as tools of a larger capitalistic system. That's Whitfield. That's always been him. We knew that in season 1. In season 2, in these first 2 episodes, we're seeing him outline the why, and that's what makes him more of a dynamic character and less static. Same thing with Banner. We know that Banner wants to like mobilize. He wants to upwardly mobilize. He wants to move his family up from being peasants. But what they're kind of starting to plant the seeds of with is that there is a twisted moral center that he has, and that he's not really doing a lot of this for himself, right? It's for his family more so than his own selfish desires. And not to say he does not have them. But both of them, like with Whitfield, he's evil because he sees evil, right? And he's either always been evil or he's adapted to the world that he's in, and he's very comfortable with that, which makes him so high on the evil scale. Well, Banner is like, hey, I'm willing to do evil things for at least a good intention, right? Like I don't know how good that actually makes him, but at the very least, you start to see, okay, maybe there's a chance where we see a break between these two characters because of that moral center, however twisted and flawed it is.
I said last week on our episode, I could see a Banner Dutton team up. I think because you kind of saw it last week as well when Banner's talking to his wife about he's essentially calling Whitfield the devil. Like he is a devil. I don't want you anywhere near him. I don't want my kid anywhere near him. And I think he's starting to see like the reaping of his souls. Like he knows he's going to pay the piper, and he knows when at the end of the day, Whitfield sees him as a dollar sign, as opportunity, nothing more. And he will discard him like Whitfield's done the rest in his life. And I've come around on Banner, and I said this last week as well. I don't see Banner as a villain anymore. I see Banner as an opportunist. This is, again, we're approaching the Great Depression. I think we're like 6 years away from the Great Depression. I mean, and you kind of see it throughout the North, throughout Montana and other parts of the world. And I think he's a family man who just wants to do what's best for his family. Now, I question his acts and the way he's doing it, but a lot of men at this time, it's all about survival. And they're Scottish immigrants, so we don't know what he went through in Scotland with his family, but to come here and try and find a better beginning for his wife and kid, I think this is what men were during these days, especially men who are destitute, who are just trying to get out of this plight that they're in. Jacob is a 1%er. Like we look at Jacob, and we look at these guys like him, they're 1%ers. They're not struggling the same way that Banner and many men like him are struggling. So I think the human element is going to come to pass, and I think Banner, I won't say he's going to regret working with Whitfield, but I do think that he'll see the light and the evil that he sees in Whitfield and tries to bypass that and work with the Duttons, especially when Spencer gets back, I think. What are your thoughts on Whitfield so far? And Marcy, and that did that scene add any nuance to the character for you?
No, I think it just kind of just illustrated what I already know about him, right? Like he's just money hungry. He's just a bad guy because, again, like what he cares about is money. And what he's telling Banner, he's essentially like, you're dumb. Like you killed people for sheep. You almost died for sheep. And now like a worm, a parasite has taken out all of your sheep. So like, he's essentially like saying like, you are not a visionary like I am. Like sheep is for peasants. You have to be thinking on a different level if you want to get like me. Like you have to be able to see 2 or 3 men skiing on a mountainside and be like, hey, I could definitely like make a shit ton of money from this. So I think it just again illustrated who Whitfield is, but then also Banner again, right? Like he's probably reassessing some things. And like you said, Frank, maybe he will just kind of start to not be with Whitfield and just realize that if I keep going down this path, either like my soul will be corrupted or I'm also just going to lose my life. I may lose my family. So hopefully he comes to that realization before Spencer gets back and, you know, they get into a war and he may not survive that.
No, exactly. Let's talk about Jacob and the judge scene. So going back to last season, Zane is married to an Asian woman. He has kids with this woman, his wife, and apparently it's against the law during this time to marry outside of your race as a white man. Though in other states during this time you can marry Native Americans and marry other. It's weird, but apparently Montana is illegal. And I guess I didn't remember Zane getting beat this bad, but apparently he's like neurologically fucked up. Like he's on the bed, he can't move, he can't stand for more than a minute. But Jacob is trying to rally the troops, and he meets the judge, and smug ass judge. It looked like he was sniffing cocaine or opium right before Jacob and the sheriff walked in. But that scene really that scene was very interesting because the hypocrisy of that scene with white people during that time, even today, is that things are so illegal, but when a white man does it, that's the trendsetters of whatever rule or whatever law it is, but they seem to find nuances to create new laws outside laws that are illegal to partake in. But Jacob pretty much cut the deal with the judge of bringing Zane and his family back to his ranch, so the state doesn't have to pay for the wife being in prison, the county jail, the kids being in the system. Tristan, what were your thoughts on that scene, man, with the judge and Jacob?
I thought it was a little slight masterclass by Harrison Ford. The way that they built his character, Jacob Dutton, is like he's obviously known as like the badass, but like he also has a good understanding of like when to throw around that badass and when to like go full badass. When to control it, when to tamp down, when to I'll be a tad bit deferential, because of protocol in this situation, but at any point I'll stand up and be the biggest motherfucker in the room, and this was one of those instances, because when they walked in, you felt like, okay, the judge and the state had all this leverage on Jacob Dutton, and by the end, it wasn't Jacob Dutton is not a man who's going to take a loss, right? Yeah. At the very least, we're going to walk out this bitch even. You know what I'm saying? And they could have easily just given up their priest that married Zane and his wife, but like that goes against Jacob's code, just code of ethics, code way of living. It's like, no, I'm not giving up somebody for doing something that with the right intention for people that I care about. And like he found a way, you know what I'm saying, to like exert leverage to at least walk out. So like you said, like nobody really wins here, but I damn sure won't be the biggest loser, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it showed me about Jacob, is like, hey man, like he's as violent as he can get, you know, when the time comes. Like even the violence is like with a code. Like you know, harm somebody that I care about, you got to pay. Like you're trying to take away something from my family, you got to pay. Other than that, man, like he's also so super cunning. And then like this is where we see first, you know, 1883, you know, that central Dutton character was the same way. He could be brute, he could be charming and cunning, you know what I'm saying? And same thing that we see in John and Yellowstone. So it's just kind of continuing that tradition of like them painting the Dutton men as like a certain a way based on this code. Like this is how they behave across generations. It's something that's passed down.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, in regards to like the genealogy of these Dutton men and how they move and how they're taught, for sure. Marcy, what are your thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, like you said, just the hypocrisy, right? Like first he's putting alcohol, maybe whiskey, we don't know what it is, but we know that it's alcohol in his drink, sniffing whatever he was sniffing. Obviously he didn't mind too much, like he didn't hide whatever he was sniffing, but it's like definitely the bottle has to go away because that is illegal during this time. And again, the hypocrisy of he's married to a Crow woman, so he's lucky that he's not in another state where that's not allowed, but in Montana it is allowed. But then how is he going to then sit up here and say, well, I'm just interpreting the laws. I don't make the laws. I just have to punish those who break the laws. Like, why do you get to marry somebody who's not white? But then why can't Zane? Well, it's because you are racist and you just want to have the law like be on your side, right? Like I want to marry outside my race, but like other people shouldn't. And obviously like that's terrible and hypocritical. But again, with like the whole, we can't break the law, but here is a bottle of alcohol in my desk. Like, which laws are you going to enforce? And why do you choose to enforce this law, which is harming a family, children, but you yourself are okay with breaking this other law? So it was just the hypocrisy of it. And it, again, like Tristan said, we've seen episodes of Yellowstone where John throws his weight around with the judge to get him to do whatever he wants to get Summer out of trouble. So again, like these Dutton men have a way of getting the sheriffs on their side and then being able to kind of cut some deals with some of these judges.
I would piggyback real quick on what you said, Marcy, about like the laws. Like, obviously, I think that was the larger point of that scene, like the larger message. Just seeing the way these laws are thrown around and, privilege based on power or proximity to power, like that really influence these laws. Because, yeah, like you said, from state to state, like you can go from one state, and this obviously mirrors like real life around that time. Mistaken, I can't. I've heard that word said one time, like out loud.
I have too. I can never say that word.
I've read it a billion times. Like missignation, something like that. But like, yeah, those laws, even in like the South, like Virginia had a different law than say Tennessee, like all these different things. So I do like the historical nod of like just kind of making sure you understand the why of certain things and how Whitfield was able to play that card to hurt the Duttons, like using those laws and like the inconsistency based on the state. So shout out to Taylor. Like, whatever you think, Taylor Sheridan will put the most grossest shit on television, but he'll also make it historically like contextual. So I appreciate that, at least the balance.
Yeah, I mean to further your point too. I mean the name of the show, the name of this episode should have been called "Hypocrisy of the Night," because even going to the priest and Marshall Kent's conversation at the campsite about Native Americans in their place in this world, like Marshall he's just disgusted at the fact that there's a law that's going to be passed that Native Americans will be citizens if they're born in in U.S. territory, and he talks about how they don't deserve that right. And then Father Renaud talks about like how they do deserve that right if they need to evolve, right? And then the conversation was so interesting to me because Kent comes back and says, "You say that, but you have a graveyard full of Native Americans in your fucking backyard, talking about they need to evolve." And he's like, and then again with the history lesson, Tristan, that you talk about in this episode, Renaud talks about the Moors that ruled France all those years and parts of Eastern Europe and again like Kent and the other police officer or marshal whatever co-marshal, they're laughing like just not knowing their history, just laughing about it like how dare niggas run Eastern Europe, they ain't got no power, how, that didn't happen or whatever. So that's a good point about the hypocrisy of this episode and like the historical context that Taylor does put in these scenes that doesn't seem to be wasted. So and
I
so
don't
talk about
think
that
father had heard of cognitive dissonance, you know. But if cognitive dissonance was a face, when he was getting called out for like the graveyard and how he continued to like move those goalposts, like again that we just talked about essentially white privilege in the previous scene with Dutton and the judge, but like this is the next scene like shows a different type of privilege, right? It's the obviously you see the white privilege of like you just mentioned, like them refusing to believe that black people at any point could be, you know, rule nations for years and centuries, but it's the privilege of like the cloth. So it's like what we do is moral because we do it for this higher power, right? It's God's will. It's God's will. It's God's will. You hear that for so much that it was like, okay, is it? You know, like if you know the marshal so easily could be like, I'm God's will. Actually, like this is up to interpretation. When you do something and it's wrong, it's God's will, right? But when something bad happens to you, you know, it's not God's will that you know, oh girl, you know, killed the nuns. Is that God's will? You know what I'm saying? That she, you know, killed whoever was chasing her. Is that God's will? So like you can't have it both ways. If it's God's will and like there should be no repercussions for your actions, then it has to go the other way. So again, that's a different type of privilege that they're highlighting right there. And the father, like Kaval, his face is like I know what I'm saying is fucked up and what he's saying is completely true, but I've been told this lie, just like they've been told this lie about Black people not having the ability to rule nations and empires. Same thing.
You mean weaponize a religion? That's a thing? The fuck? I did not know that.
Catholic Church would never do that.
Clearly, that just started in the 21st century. That's
Marcy, what your thoughts on that conversation between the marshal and Father Renaud?
I mean, yeah, when like Father Renaud is being, I guess, the enlightened one by saying, no, they do deserve birthright citizenship. And then Marshall's like, well, you know, they're going to marry our women. He's like, oh, they're all your women. And I'm like, don't paint yourself to be like this protector of women, feminist, priest. Like, come on, like, what are you talking about? And then they, you know, again, he's telling them about how like, yeah, it wasn't just white people that have ruled everything. And like, even in like Spain and Andalusia, like, yes, we do have like the Moorish ancestors. And then like the other guy's laughing about it. And then he gets gotten with an arrow and I busted out laughing because that is what he got for being racist. And I was like, yes. And then I was hoping that more of them would get by the arrow, but we just saw more natives get killed by these fucking assholes. So, and more children get killed by these fucking assholes. So that was not the ending that I was hoping for in that scene.
Were those the same Native Americans that was from the last reservation that Marshall Kent killed that child on the way out of that reservation?
I don't know. I'm wondering if it is because they're still like in that same general direction. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm thinking it is. I'm thinking maybe like they went for retribution, or it was just like other ones that were wanting to kill these white men. But damn, that was again hard to watch because yeah, it was little kids.
I like this whole little fake good cop, bad cop thing going on to Marshall and Father Caval.
Yeah.
So maybe one of them had to go for them to like fully flesh out this fucking Beverly Hills Cop as partnership between them. Yeah, man, I was hoping at least the Marshall would get taken out. Like one of them dudes. I want both of them to die. Like last season, you know, I was very effusive in my hatred for Father Caval. But the Marshal is catching up like pretty quickly, you know, like Father Caval is about to blow a 3-1 lead. I hate that dude. I hate both of those dudes.
Yeah, I didn't want them to die in that scene because it was too there wasn't an audience. They need a grand finale death, and I don't want them to die offhand in the night when nobody sees it. I need a very satisfying death, and hopefully, if not both, but a hint of Tiona or her father or Pete. You know, that's what I need to see. Yeah, that's no. We need a finale, a grand finale.
Or
for sure.
Spencer Dutton.
Oh, yes.
You know, we talked about this last season. Do you think the Duttons and Tiona meet this generation of John and what's the name's ancestors?
I think so. I obviously don't know the mechanisms for how it would happen, but for it, like Game of Thrones style, for as spaced out as so many of these characters are, like to have both of them about to be in the same state, essentially, too much of a coincidence, but we'll see.
Okay. It'd be crazy, right? If we find out somehow in this series that the Duttons and Tiona share a bloodline of some form of fashion. It's just too big of a coincidence to keep having this bloodline, these bloodlines like meet or be in the same proximity with each other and make such a big deal about it as well. So I mean, that'd be my guess. I don't know. I mean, Jack Dutton could be down a fiance, so you never know how that could play a part.
When it has to make it back to Montana, we'll see.
Yeah. Now back at the ranch. Apparently, it's cougar and wolf season. At the ranch, it's I don't understand why Kara and Elizabeth are leaving the fucking house. Stay in the like you have ranch hands. Why are you leaving the house? Stay in the goddamn house. I mean, Elizabeth
without your gun, at least. Like,
yeah, at least Elizabeth of all people should not be leaving anywhere. Like she should have been shot at. She almost died a few times. I need her to stay in the goddamn crib. Like she's doing way too fucking much. And there's so much going on right now with these wolves going hungry and these cougars are all the mountain lions over the place. I don't understand why they keep leaving the fucking house, but apparently Elizabeth gets attacked by a wolf this time. We don't know if the wolf is rabid or not. So Kara calls the doctor to treat her, and she freaks out about a goddamn rabies shot. She needs like 12 shots over the next 10 days. So she's fighting, and I guess that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Of her living in this on this ranch. I guess she don't face a lot of like stress and mental torture and physical torture and all of that. And now she's calling the quits, which I understand. Like, but my question is, was she not prepped on this? Did she not know that this is country living at its finest? Like, I mean, she probably didn't understand. She probably wasn't prepped for all the beef that was going on, which I understand. But as far as the winter, as far as like what's to expect when winter comes, as far as hunger and all this kind of stuff, I'm just surprised that she's so surprised by this. Or maybe I'm not being sensitive enough. What are your thoughts, Marcy?
I mean, wasn't she also from Montana? It's not like she, got here from California or something. She's also from Montana. Like they all were around from the same place. So I think maybe she was just like very sheltered, that could have been it. But yeah, I was just like, at least be strapped when you leave your house. Like, what are you doing? And then like they're refusing the rabies vaccine. I think she's like the OG like Maha or something. Like, come on, lady, this is gonna save you. And I don't know if maybe like she's thinking if I definitely get this injection in my stomach, then I'll definitely not be able to have kids like in the future, even though I think we know that she can't, because after she got shot, they did an operation. They said she won't be able to, but maybe she thinks she still can. So I don't know why she didn't want the shot, either because she doesn't like needles or because she doesn't want to affect like future fertility or make herself sicker. But I was just like, girl, what are you doing? Like, do you want rabies? Yeah, I was just like, come on.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a fear of like some, for infertility, or maybe it was like PTSD from not being able to have a kid at first, or the injury she had in season 1. It's one thing of being prepped, but like that's some hard winter shit. Like that's some Winterfell shit. You know what I'm saying? Like some shit that's passed down through generations. Like it's in your blood. It's just not in her blood. So like maybe she toughens up, and sticks it out. Maybe they lose another one, another Dutton wife. I don't know, but that shit hard, fam. Like, yeah, I do agree. They shouldn't be out there with no gun. Like, you should be on complete lookout. Like, maybe this is a time to start thinking about bigger fences. That's what I was thinking. Like, that should have been a priority before you guys left. Like, hey, let's at least protect the chicken coop. You know what I'm saying? Hey, lock your door. Like, lock your door, man. Like, we just had a wolf attack and we didn't even kill the wolf. Like, that wolf knows there's other things that it can eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe lock your doors.
And he wasn't even finishing the chicken. That's like the thing. He was just attacking it.
Yeah. And you got a chicken at the end, unfortunately. But again, lock your doors, bro. It's like build a little ditch or something. Put some tiles down. Like this is what people do. Like in a chicken coop. Like that mother crawled under that shit so quickly.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
And he was fat too. Like he wasn't starving. He was a fat wolf.
Yeah. No, for sure. So on the road back, so Jacob and the crew are heading back. Okay, yeah, y'all might need to educate me on this. They know a storm is coming. I don't know how long the storm's gonna last, but what made them think that they can ride through this storm with with that one wagon and a few horses and think they could get through the storm with no problems back to the ranch? Why not just wait in town and just sit it out until the storm passes? Is there a deadline to get back to the ranch? Like, I didn't understand that. And anyone can answer this question.
Jacob said he didn't want to like chance it and like push his like staying in town. He'd rather just get out of there and get back home. I don't know if maybe he thought the judge would be like, fuck this, I'm not agreeing to this deal. Like, I'm gonna like go arrest these folks again, or like somebody from Whitfield's crew might like go and like try to, harass them or beat them up again. So I think he was like, I'd rather just take my chances on the road. But that wasn't smart because Kara, I told you, do not try to rush back here. Do not die getting back here. So take off 1 point for not listening to your wife, Jacob. And now you're stuck in the fucking blizzard. Now you're cold. So
yeah.
I attribute this to classic Taylor Sheridan plot hole. Like this is we got to get him in this situation. Like also, I mean, if you want to like kind of get meta about it, then this is a bigger illustration of like this dichotomy between city and town, right? Like their distrust of like all this innovation and stuff like that. Like their comfort is in the country, essentially in the mountains, away from the city. Like you see them come in there, they seeing like the new payphone and cars and all these technological advancements, and like the thought of these things, like the thought of a fucking refrigerator, like with Kara, it's like, damn, like an ice box in the house. Like, what? Come on, that'll never happen. Like, it's always trying to show you like this divide between those two concepts, like old fashioned versus new. And they wanted to get the hell up out of there because that's what people who love the country want to do. Like, as soon as they get to the city, like, it's too many people. There's all these different things. Take me back to like my comfort zone. There's no logical reason for you not to wait out, a storm like that in a hotel, especially when, like, I'm sorry, there are children involved, you know what I'm saying? Horses involved that you're going to need, like all these things. So that's a Taylor Sheridan plot hole more than anything in my book.
Well, and also the judge told him, like, even if you take them like back to your ranch and they're going to be in your custody, that's fine. If they're spotted together in town, like, they're going to like be breaking the law. So he also didn't want to risk them getting rearrested for being seen in town when they shouldn't have been. So go hide somewhere. Go hide in the hotel. I don't care. Like, now your horses might die because they're cold. No, that's not nice.
Yeah, that was definitely a plot hole that I didn't seem to understand it, like, even the slightest. Let's talk about Spencer, man. I know, so he is riding with Luca, the young Italian man, and they finally get to Galveston on shore and they meet. Is that Luca's uncle or cousin? Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently he's a high roller, in Italian. I don't want to say mob, but
I can say
It's mob.
it. Very clearly mafia.
Based on like a real life mob guy in Galveston. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, like it's
okay. So
it was two guys, but yeah.
Okay, so organized activities that Luca's cousin is partaking in, and prohibition has started, right? I'm trying to think of my history context. Is prohibition a thing right now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I mean, Luca's cousin is he wants to celebrate Spencer for bringing Luca here in one piece and all that, and they want to have a night to celebrate him. But Spencer has no interest. He's trying to get to his wife. He's trying to get back to the Montana, and he eats and he's ready to go. And one of his henchmen are they stop him like, no, motherfucker, you gotta stay tonight because we gotta celebrate you. He knocks him out, and he goes on a little walk across the bridge. That's when he gets jumped and brought back to the Italian mob. I didn't quite understand this because if you're Luca's cousin, you're grateful that Luca is safe. Why not just afford him that, give him what he needs, and let Spencer go his little own way. Maybe that's the power dynamic of him wanting to have things the way he wants it because he's the head boss. But I didn't quite understand why he brought him back. I mean, now I do with the whole trafficking liquor, but at first I was kind of confused by that.
I think my personal theory is whenever Luca told his cousin about Spencer, and he had been kind of like pimping his reputation out, like, hey, it's the lion hunter. Like he has a reputation as that guy. So think about like Last of Us, right? Like the reason why the two black kids wanted Joel to help them is because, like, oh, I see what you can do. You have this reputation. I've seen you handle a gun. I've seen you, protect yourself. I've seen you kill people if necessary. The same thing with Spencer. Like, he has that reputation. So if you're the mafia, you have no like emotional connection to Spencer. It's just simply like, okay, what can I get from this person? Because that's kind of mob philosophy. See somebody, how can I exploit this, this person or this opportunity for my personal gain? So as soon as he told him about him, like, I'm sure that's why he didn't want him to leave. It's like, okay, yeah, we're going to celebrate you, but we're also going to present this opportunity for you, to make some money and yada, yada, get to where you need to go. So yeah, that's what I think. I think that's the whole purpose of that.
And I also think like he hadn't stressed like how much he needed to get back. I think like Luca was like, he's just wanting to get home to Montana. But then like after Spencer gets his ass kicked, he's like, I need to like go home to like save my family in Montana. And my wife is like, I don't know where she is. And then he's like, bitch, you should have just said that. Like, if you would have just like stated the urgency from the get-go, I would have just like let you go after you run this little trip to Fort Worth for me. So I think it was just kind of like maybe he didn't know how important it was to Spencer. But now he's on his way to Fort Worth. So we'll see how long that takes him, because I'm sure back then there was no I-35, no I-45. It would have taken a while to get from Galveston to Fort Worth.
Well, this I'm confused. So he has to go drop off this liquor at Fort Worth, and then he has to go back to Galveston because he says
Luke is going to take the car back, and then like Spencer can just go. Yeah.
Because Luca's cousin alluded to like a handshake once he gets back. So that's what threw me off for a second.
I think he said if Luca comes back with the cash, the next time I see you, like we'll have it.
Yeah, when we meet again is what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Well, speaking of Spencer, his lovely wife and who's with child is going through a hell-bent roller coaster herself on the rough waters of the Atlantic, trying to get stateside. Yeah, man, I'm not really. I have a lot of questions about this storyline, man. I don't feel good about the storyline. I'm already like frustrated with like their track to get back to Montana. Now this poor young woman is pregnant with a child. She's on the shore. She's by herself, and Alexandra has to figure out. She has no idea where to meet Spencer. I think they said I don't know. They said New York, or in the finale last season was it New York?
Yeah, she's gonna go to New York.
So this is why I'm so frustrated. If Spencer has the car. He's going to Fort Worth. It's gonna take him a year to get to fucking New York. He ain't got no. I mean, how he gonna get to New York? I don't.
True,
I think he's going to Montana though.
Yeah, they said that they would meet in Montana.
Oh, Montana. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Like their plan is to meet in Montana, but she's gonna land in New York and then like take the train to Montana.
Yeah. I wish. I feel like Alexandra's storyline needs to be off screen. I just need to show in Montana episode 4. It's just too much for a young pregnant woman to go through what she's going through. Like I don't know how ripping up TV it's going to be with her pregnant with child, struggling, trying to get to her husband. Like I could do without that and just have her show Montana. If they show episode 3 and she's already in Montana, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. I don't need to see 3 episodes of her struggling to get to Montana.
That's not gonna happen, boy. She's gonna go through some struggles. Okay, 2 sides of it. One, I think that's the point. The point is to show like if Spencer is ultimately the point of this story, if he's the Jon Snow of this story, essentially, or should be the Jon Snow of this story. Don't get me talking about Game of Thrones. Then it is helpful to like the larger universe if we understand that this union between Spencer and Alexandra came through all these like different obstacles and they fought through it and they did all these things to come together. So like this family, the true dynasty, like when the Duttons became what they became, was built off love. You know what I'm saying? It was built off this impossible love story and yada yada. So I get it on that level. I feel like I guess the reason I get so frustrated is because the Spencer and Alex together, like the chemistry between them together is so great that I feel like the show loses a lot of some of its best like strengths when they're not together and actually interacting, because like that's one of the best parts of the show. Just like Jacob and Carol, when they're together, like it's magic. It's like on-screen magic, right? Spencer and Alexandra play off each other so well. And like the story, like the you root for that relationship so much when they're together that obviously, yeah, it makes like them being apart. You want to see them together, but like actually the true strength of this show, or one of the true strengths of this show, is Spencer and Alexandra in the same scene together, right? Just kind of seeing how they bounce off each other, how the different worlds that they come from, like show up in these different interactions that they have with each other and then other people. Like, and we miss so much of that. Like, I worry we're not going to get enough of that in this series, because who knows how long the show is going to last. Like, if we only get like a few episodes of them together, you know, this season plus the ones we got in season 1, then I feel like that's kind of a waste. They're not going to get together in episode 3, maybe not even 4, but by episode 5, they have to be together, because it's just a great part of TV, you know, to me, like just seeing them together. So that's my biggest, I guess that's where my frustration comes from, even though I understand on a bigger picture why it takes so long, why they have to be separated, and why it takes so long to get back to each other ultimately.
Oh, my strong literary brother. I agree with you. That's why I'm so frustrated with this, because I feel like Kara and Jacob are that's Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren to me are acting royalty. When they're together, I feel like I believe in marriage when I see those two. When I see Spencer and Alexandra, I believe in marriage. I believe in young love. I believe in all that shit. And I feel like you're weakening the story and the essence of the story when all 4 of those characters are apart. Those tandems need to be together. And I don't know how much, because you went through the laundry list earlier in this episode, Tristan. You talk about lions, tigers, and bears, sea and sharks and duels. Like, we got all of that, and that was all in season 1. So it's like, how much more shit do I need to watch? I feel like I'm watching a Marvel movie with all this. These are Avenger level threats they're facing as human beings. This is what it is. This is 1923 Avengers. Like, no human being can survive what they survived. And now you separating them and giving them more shit to go through. It's like, come on, bro. Like, like at a point, it's becoming ridiculous now of some of the feats that they're going through and conquering as human beings. These ain't mutants. These ain't humans. These are fucking human beings, bro. I mean, Spencer's over here fighting off lions and shit, and he's swimming through water and beating niggas off and throwing off boats and shit. Like, come on, dog. Like,
I still can't rewatch that Lions episode. I can't do it. Like, my anxiety was at an all time.
My white nigga was a prize fighter episode 1 of the season, whooping that like bro. Like, how much more, bro? How much more can we take? Like, Taylor, come on, bro. Like, bro, like, come on, dog. How much more can we take? Marcy, please go ahead.
It's a soap opera, just like Yellowstone was a soap opera, especially that last season, those last 2 seasons. Like, these are soap opera storylines, and you know, whatever. I actually think that I definitely do think that Alex and Spencer definitely need to hurry up and get together fast. But I also think it's important to show like her toil and her struggle to get here, especially now for people to see that, especially being a white woman, how much she had to struggle, because I think nowadays a lot of people like to think about their ancestors and how they came the right way or how it was so easy for them, right? Like, they don't know how their ancestors struggled to get here. They don't know how they got here. They don't even know if they did it the right way. So again, like you're saying, she's going through all this and she's pregnant, she's got a child, and these are all like struggles that she's going through. To me, that's an everyday thing that is still like happening. Like, people are still going through hell to get here, pregnant, you know, under all of these circumstances. So I think it's important to show it. But again, like you, I don't want him to show it for 7 more episodes. And at the end of the episode is when like they finally get back together. Like, no, you need to like hurry up and wrap it up. And then also, you know, it's just too bad she couldn't get more money to like be in first class, because now she's got to be in the tourist class with the rest of the common folk and, you know, not living it up in the lap of luxury. And that's getting her ready for the reality that she's going to face in Montana, right? Like, she was privileged. She is from a completely different country on the other side of the world. If, you know, Elizabeth is struggling and she's from Montana, like, how much is Alex going to struggle being in a whole new country in this cold and everything's coming at you?
I mean, to be fair, I think Alexandra has faced a lot more stress than what I mean. She survived lions, she survived,
True.
monkeys and bears and fucking, being fought over two men, and like I think she's built for this shit, fam. She's built for this. Like
Sure.
unlike Elizabeth, she is built for this. She has no problem leaving her previous life for the man that she loves. And I think that is the final denominator between Elizabeth and Alexandra, is that she runs to this. She runs to the problems, while Elizabeth is running away from the problems. Not to say Elizabeth is wrong for how she feels. It's a lot for any woman to go through. And so Tristan, final thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
Both of y'all just made stellar points. I really have nothing to add, but it is like that parallel. We've talked a lot, last season about the different parallels, like between, Spencer and Jack, between like these different characters across timelines, essentially. But like we're seeing, I think like the show is making a point to show you the difference between Elizabeth, who grew up in privilege, and Alex, who grew up in privilege, right? Just the different personalities, and how I think going to like the larger point of the Dutton universe, the Dutton family, the Dutton dynasty, is like, you got to be built for that shit. Like you have to be a certain code of type, you have to have a certain type of ethical code. You have to have a certain type of grit and grind. And, hopefully Elizabeth develops some. But again, just like with, Spencer and James, right? We could kind of see certain differences, right? Just the different siblings, different cousins. Like there's certain differences that show you who can survive this and who probably won't. And Spencer and Alexandra are like super built for it in different ways. That's why they click so well together. That's why their chemistry is so great, because ultimately they're two people who are going to get it done, right? And you can't be a Dutton unless you know how to get it done. And Alex she's proven that so many times. Like, hey, I don't want this dude no more. I'm gone. Like it's like there's no 2 week, 1 month deliberation. Is like, hey, nah, actually, when it's absolutely time to get it done, I'm gonna get it done. I'm leaving him. Hey, I like this guy. I feel like there's real chemistry. I'm going for it. I love this man. He's my husband. I'm gonna fight for him. I'll go against anybody. I'm doing that. I'm leaving my family to get to America. I'm doing it. Like she's ultimately like a get it done all-star, essentially. That's why I love her. I could not love Alexandra more. I want to reiterate that. She's on the Allison Hightower all-stars list for me. But I just love the character. Like I love that spunk that, hey, you say you're my friend, this is what I need, get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like she's so no nonsense, and like I couldn't think of somebody from fucking London or England who fits the Dutton like prototype as well as she does. So yeah, that great point about the parallels.
I mean, I hope Alexandra makes it to Montana in time, because I feel like Elizabeth needs that conversation. She needs that strength, and I think Alexandra can put her on game more so than Kara, because it's so close to age. I think that would resonate more with Elizabeth hearing it from somebody like Alexandra, as opposed to someone who's Kara, who's been around for so long, and who's such a veteran in this shit. Do you think, Marcy? Do you think Elizabeth stays, or do you think she gonna quit and leave?
Whew. I think she might leave. I think this is a lot for her. So, I would leave too, to be honest. Like, Jack, you're not all that for me to want to stay. Like, this is too much. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I think.
Just in your thoughts?
I think you can only have one young, pretty blonde in that house, according to TV standards, and I think it's going to be Alexandra. I'm sorry. So I hope nothing bad happens to. I hope Elizabeth goes home and whatever. But yeah,
go home.
I think one of them has to go. It's TV math. It is.
Well, again, man, thank you so much for joining us today, man. 1923. We're gonna be here every Sunday. We're still working on times. We between 4 and 6 every Sunday. But road to 500 subscribers, man. We have 433 right now, I believe. Last time I checked. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button, please. Follow us on all social media at the box down below. We've got you covered on all audio pods available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. 5-star rating for us, please. We have Daredevil coming up on Tuesday, the premiere, and then Wednesday will be the podcast as well for season 3. Well, technically a reboot, but a continuation from Netflix series of season 3 going to season 4 of Daredevil. So for myself, for Tristan, for Marcy, this is the pod for Night 23, episode 2. Thank you so much.